Hi there, my name is Stuart Keogh, and this is my final exam presentation for Statistics 570. The first question we had was about conservative, moderate, and liberal opinions for a certain policy and whether they said yes or no. So the ultimate question was which sample size will provide stronger evidence that the three political groups do not have the same population proportions who support the proposal. The first step in answering this question was for me just to figure out exactly what test that I would be running. So for that, there was no quantitative variables, so I went with a non-parametric. And at that point, I used this handy-dandy chart, which led me to our chi-squared test for independence. At that point, I just had to think about it critically here, and for that, option A becomes the best choice, which is 200. For this analysis, I would run that chi-square test, and the larger but not too large sample size will increase the strength of the results. With a very, very small sample size, like less than 20, we'd run into some problems, and then a humongous sample size would create some problems too. So really, less than about 500 is great, and 200 is in that sweet spot. And generally, as a generalization, the larger sample sizes will lead to more validity in most of our statistical analysis. So when we have the opportunity, we want to lead to a larger sample size. If you asked 5 people who they're voting for president versus 500,000, that would obviously have different implications on the results. So I think you definitely want to make sure that given affordability and things like that, that you err on the side of the larger sample size. The second question asked about the 3 different majors and how much study time they did. So we have a quantitative and a qualitative variable here. Since it's not too quantitatives, we'll stay away from the linear regressions. Again, I like this little flowchart here. It really helped me out, and this led me to an ANOVA test. So again, for this question, I would have used an ANOVA test since we have a categorical, which is our independent variable, being which school they went to or college they're within rather, and the quantitative variable was the dependent variable and how long they studied. And when looking at the 3 schools, the difference in study time between them would be more noticeable if the variation within each group was lower. So therefore, for this example, I'd choose the lowest standard deviation, which is 4 hours within each group. Essentially, if we have this wide berth of data and this humongous spread, massive standard deviation, we'll start to see some overlapping within the groups, and so some of those results might get muddled with a large standard deviation and lots of outliers and things like that. We're going to see some results which are not as definitive. So if we have one group that definitely studies more than another, with really strongly clustered groups with a closer or smaller standard deviation, we can really see those definitive points. Whereas with that larger spread, those overlapping points, there's just not as definitive of a margin and a marker between those categorical variables. Thanks for everything. Hope you have a great rest of your summer.